and as visceral as ever as the dominant political forces in Nigeria fight it out in the courts and in the media. But is the dust perhaps somewhat now settling after a momentous few weeks of Nigerian politics? Or are the dust clouds just beginning to gather? Certainly, the already fractured political atmosphere in this country has been further deeply rocked by the national and international focus on the quest by the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar to obtain the academic records of President Bola Tinubu from the Chicago State University, records which Mr. Abubakar hopes will support his claim that Mr. Tinubu had perjured himself and therefore deserves to be kicked out of office. But the attempt to vacate the president still has to go through the Supreme Court. So the big question now is, will President Tinubu's academic records released on the orders of a U.S. court by Chicago State University be relevant to Atiku Abubakar's appeal at the Nigerian Supreme Court? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the former Minister of Aviation, former governorship candidate in Anambra State, and now the Director of Voter Intelligence and Strategy in the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Chief Osita Chidoka. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Charles.
What can you tell us about what's emerged from those depositions in the U.S.? What have you discovered?
First, I must say that I was shocked, surprised. Something inside of me was still very confident that, okay, there may be some issues, but there won't be a case of certificates forgery, you know. So I followed the depositions closely, and I was alarmed. I was disappointed that the certificate that was issued to INEC was disowned by Chicago State University. If President Tinubu knew that this certificate did not come from Chicago State University, maybe there would have been an opportunity for him to come clean to the country and said, you know, I've been a governor, I've worked in the corporate sector, so, you know, the issue of certificates, you have attended advanced courses. I have a transcript from somewhere. I don't know where my certificate is, but, you know, I have a transcript. But, you know, because this is a consistent pattern, as governor of Lagos State, the issue was whether he went to Government College Ibadan or he didn't go to Government College Ibadan. Whether he went to University of Chicago or he didn't go to University of Chicago. And now CSU again, how he got there. Now, all the ancillary issues around it, whether he came from Southwest College, whether he came with an HSC from London, whether he came with a certificate from Government College Lagos, which wasn't in existence at the time he filed it, are tangential to the issue. The issue is that the university, the Chicago State University, have said on oath, the certificate of 27 June 1979 is not our certificate. We did not issue it. He was our student, but this certificate is a forgery. The triangle, the name of the person that signed it, you know, they pointed out all the obvious infractions, and this was very embarrassing. Damaging.
But let's be clear on what has and hasn't emerged from those depositions. We know, for instance, that President Tinubu did attend Chicago State University from 1977 to 1979 and was awarded a bachelor's degree with honors. The registrar confirmed that. That much has been affirmed, and that is right.
So the university is saying that the transcript that they have, you know, diplomas are usually ceremonial in the US, they said. But that in this situation, in this case, they did not issue this diploma. Now, what that means is that it's possible he went to Chicago University. It's possible that the background documents that brought him to Chicago University are the documents he doesn't want us to go into. But I don't think that was enough to force the forgery. You know, I came out during the case of the young girl, Umesoma in Anambra, who took JAMB in my CBT center, scored 249, decent score. That's a B in any, out of 400, that's a B, you know, in Nigerian 60 and above. Then decided to manipulate her result to 362 and claim that this is her score. She got 362. Now, everybody is worried. Why would you, with your 249, now jack yourself up by 100 and something marks to do that? So there's a psychology about fraud that is not clear to people. Why would a girl, a 19-year-old girl, why would you change your results to 362 from 249?
But that's not...
If you went to school, why would you now forge a certificate of the same school you went to?
But that's a matter of speculation. I mean, the key legal issue is that you forged your certificate.
Yes.
That's the key legal issue,
so the point I'm making is, I don't know why anybody would do that. To your point about he went to the school. So my point is, you know, I can see that with Umesoma. She took JAMB. She got 249. Why would you do this? I don't know why. But I don't know why, and it doesn't concern me. My concern on this matter is, why would you then forge the certificate of a university that you went to?
Or maybe your concern is that you believe you have evidence to now prove that he forged his certificate.
The university under oath said so. I'm quoting them.
Right.
I'm not saying...
I mean, you have legal experience as well. So the legal question is, does the fact that Mr. Tinubu allegedly submitted a fake certificate to INEC invalidate his claim to have attended and graduated from Chicago State University? And the answer, according to the university's registrar, is that it does not.
Okay, so the university registrar is not in a position to determine what the outcome of a forged document is. In the US, all the president needed to have done was to send in his transcript and say, you know, I lost my certificates, but here are my transcripts. He didn't do that. Now, Section 137(1)J says, you know, if you provide, no person shall be qualified for election to the office of the president if they have presented a forged certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission.
But we know
that's about Nigeria. So in the US, it may not be an issue.
I understand.
But by the Nigerian law, it invalidates his candidature, not whether he went to CSU. He has left the domain of whether he went to CSU. We've left that. Here is whether he is qualified. Now, because there are two important things that happened in his affidavit. He swore an oath that he did not attend a primary school, that he has no secondary school certificate, and that he has only the CSU certificate. Once you tendered that, it became an issue. It became, you know, a point in issue, a fact in issue. So now, if the CSU certificate is not genuine, was not issued by the university, it then means there's nothing to fall back on. There's no secondary school certificate. There's no primary school certificate. It's still a mystery how he got to university without those two, but let's assume he did. You know, smart guy. He walked into university and showed them he's smart, and they took him. So what the problem now is that if you remove that CSU certificate, then that form is empty. There's nothing to fall back to. He then doesn't meet the qualification for the office of the President of Nigeria, which requires you to have a school certificate at the minimum, or other certificates acceptable to INEC.
Right. So I suppose the next logical question is, what are you going to be able to do with this new material from Chicago to support your case here in Nigeria? Can you submit it as fresh evidence to the Supreme Court or not?
We plan to do that. We're going to submit it to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Whether they will accept it is a question for them. But I think this is beyond legalism. I think it's beyond legalism. I don't think that Nigeria as a country should be debating whether the Supreme Court will accept a document. We're internationally embarrassed. We're going to be the subject of international conversations. Our president will be the subject of a man who is going to be needing to make difficult decisions in Nigeria. The population of Nigeria is predominantly young. The young people in Nigeria needs to be mobilized. The fuel subsidy has gone. Dollar is at 1,000 naira. Our production has fallen below 1 million barrels. Our foreign reserves is largely made up of fake dollars borrowed from banks. So we have less than 3 billion. Our letters of credit are no more being accepted by international banks. Then we're having challenges with power in Nigeria. We're having challenges with deregulating the electricity sector. For you to take these decisions, you need a national consensus. You need legitimacy. You need to go to the West African region to spread the gospel of democracy. You can't go there with a tainted mandate. That is the point. I don't think the point is the Supreme Court's decision. The Supreme Court will be doing itself and the country a great disservice if it does not take judicial notice of what the legal deposition in Chicago University has done. So what is at issue here really for me is that I think the president should just resign. There should be some honor in this country. He should just say, I made a mistake. I don't know how I got this certificate. I don't know, I sent somebody and maybe he got to me wrong. But this is not something that needs another technical, legal rigmarole. No, this is something that will hobble the country. It will reduce our capacity to intervene in the West African region. It will reduce our capacity to be the leading African nation. It will reduce its ability to convince Nigerians that we need to take difficult decisions. It will be difficult to convince our students in school to follow the path of honor. So I don't think this is an issue of legality. For me, I don't see it as a legal issue. Well, I see it as a moral one.
Yes, but some would certainly argue that much as they would agree with you, you have a political motive for wanting to see it more as a moral issue than a legal issue. The legal eagles are saying that these are two different things. We must establish the legality or illegality of what has happened, and that it is incumbent upon the Supreme Court to look at the circumstances, because in law there is always circumstantial evidence. There are circumstances that lead to things, that they would have to ask fundamental questions about whether, first of all, a forgery actually took place. And if it did take place, is it forgery based on carelessness or forgery based on intent to deceive? Because oftentimes in law, if you can prove a premeditation, an intention to deceive, then that's a different thing than just saying that somebody may be out of carelessness, that maybe he was rushed to submit a certificate and he didn't have the right to he felt this will not invalidate the fact that I did go to Chicago State because the university has said yes, he did attend. So that's not really the issue here. But the fact that that document ended up being submitted, assuming that is a forged document.
Yes.
You see the point I'm making?
No, the point I'm making is not for a strict liability issue. If you submit forged documents under oath, because if he had said, these are my transcripts, my certificate, I'm not certain, about this certificate, but I got one online from the school, but I'm not certain. But here are my transcripts, just in case if there is an issue with this certificate. But if you submitted a certificate of a university, you did not present a secondary school certificate, you did not present a primary school certificate, you have been the subject of an investigation about whether you went to Government College Ibadan and you didn't go, whether you went to University of Chicago, you said it was a mistake. We accepted that, Afiku, you made a mistake in filling your form. Then Ifawemi died fighting this cause, to say, you need to investigate this man. He didn't go to these schools he's mentioning. So now we have another issue. Since 2007, when he left as governor, if he had gone to write GCE, like a governor did that, gone to write GCE, 2 papers, he doesn't need to pass. He just needs to be present. Our constitution does not require you to pass. The biggest job in Nigeria doesn't require you to be brilliant. It doesn't require you to have minimum academic capabilities. He could have just said, you know what, I went and took WAEC. Here's my WAEC certificate. Case dismissed. So for the sense of impunity, of entitlement, to wait for 16 years since 2007 to get to the point when you are going to be president and you are the subject again of another certificate scandal. It means that you have no regards for us as Nigerians.
Well, we will have to wait and see how that turns out. But just to conclude that section, because I want to talk to you about something else, but to conclude that section, it is your contention ineluctably that the president submitted forged documents to INEC, and that you being the PDP, you have sufficient evidence to back up that claim now.
Yes, we have the deposition on oath of the Chicago State University that certificate, that 27 June certificate, is not a certificate issued. He graduated on 22nd of June, not 27th. The registrar pointed that out. But that the people who signed this, the names on this, are not that of 1979. And we have no record of a reissued certificate. We have no record of that. So we couldn't have reissued a 79 certificate in 97. And when they asked him that you wrote that he was reissued, a reissue of 1997, he said, I want to put it on record that was a typographical error. I meant 1979, not 1997. So that unequivocally makes it clear that we have an issue with the 27th of June certificate, and we will give it to the Supreme Court.
Right.
But beyond giving it to the Supreme Court is the issues before the nation. We're in a very tight corner as a country now, and we need to move forward, and we need to very, very much move forward. I wish I knew that this certificate was not genuine. Maybe I would have been one of those begging Alhaji Abubakar Atiku not to embarrass Nigeria internationally. Let's settle this at home. Let's figure out how to do this. If you had come out straight to us and said, please, don't go here. These certificates, you get K-leg. I will have been one of those, because I'm more worried that our security agencies for the past 24 years haven't been able to tell us definitively, please, these certificates, is not something we should talk about. It doesn't exist, or it does exist. And it is sad, because the FBI said they will start releasing documents, 500 pages a month. And I'm thinking, 2,500 pages? I wonder what they are. Because Malcolm X had 2,400 pages of documents. So are we going to sit down and be going from one issue to the other every month about our president? It's something Nigerians have to take a decision about. It's beyond the Supreme Court. Because even whatever decision the Supreme Court takes, whatever legalism they fall back to, they will be doing this country irreparable damage. And I think that it is for Nigerians to stand up and say, this, no further. Yes, we've done this for many years with you, but here, no further. Because you had all these years to take a GCA exam, to take a NECO exam, to get a certificate from any high polytechnic in the UK. He has been away from government since 2007.
Well, clearly the pot has been stirred, and we'll have to see what bubbles out of it. But let me move away from President Tinubu and the problems he's got with the PDP and certificates and so on.